Open Your Eyes is brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank. Good morning and welcome to Open Your Eyes, Start Your Morning Right.
I'm Paul Lopez.
And I'm Isani Cayetano. Good morning. It is a Monday morning, November the 15th. A rather wet Monday to wake up to.
Yes.
Wow.
You know, people don't like to wake up with this weather. This is encouragement to stay in bed a bit more. But all things considered, we have a job to do, and so we're here.
For those of us who have work bright and early,
Yeah.
the weather can't be a factor as to why we can't reach work on time.
Indeed.
So notwithstanding the showers this morning, I had to wake up early enough and get ready to be here.
But I mean, it's been a wet weekend in a whole, and we'll get to know a bit more about the weather later. But it's been a really wet weekend, and so I'm here hoping that people are staying safe, they're staying dry, and staying in their home. An opportune time to just stay inside and relax.
You know what is interesting though? And as you rightfully mentioned, we will be getting more details of the weather forecast a little later in the show. But what is interesting is that every year around this time, whenever you see November comes around on the 19th, it's always rainy.
Indeed.
So there's, in my recollection, right?
Yeah.
It's difficult to point out to a time when there was a dry 19th.
No, I agree.
Not that I'm putting mouth in a manner of speaking on what's to take place this Friday. We're hoping for better weather so that we're able to celebrate the 19th of November as Garifuna Settlement Day.
No, I agree. I think it was last year. We went out, a church community actually went out to do some stuff in the streets of Dangriga, and we were confined to the building because it just rained all night. It rained. So I can't recall a 19th without rain either.
Yeah. And so speaking of the 19th though, it's this coming Friday.
It is.
And I know that traditionally there is the reenactment in Garifuna called the Urume, right? This is when the Garinago arrived on the shores of Belize for the first time way back in the 1800s, right? And so that is the primary feature of the day, aside from the Mass of Thanksgiving that is given immediately after the reenactment. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out this week, considering the fact that we're still very much in a pandemic and all the restrictions apply. I know that there has been a schedule of events issued by the National Garifuna Council in respect of activities to be held leading up to the 19th. And I know that for the most part, things have been done virtually. So it stands to reason then that we can expect a lot of these activities and these ceremonies and what have you to be done in the online space.
Yeah, last year that's the approach they took, and I would imagine they will be taking the same approach this year, that virtual,
Yeah. Now, there's a lot we can get into this morning. We have a full show with 3 different segments. Before we get into all of what we'll be discussing over the course of the next few hours, we'd like to get into our eye-opener. All right, so our eye-opener comes from dailyom.com, and it reads as follows. To protect ourselves from taking on any negative energy from people or situations, we can learn to shield. There are times when you may find that being around certain individuals or groups of people leaves you with feelings of discomfort. It may be that spending time with a particular friend feels draining, or that dealing with a specific coworker exhausts you. Being around toxic or angry people is also draining. Each of us radiates energy and is capable of being influenced by the energy of other people. It is important to learn how to shield yourself so you don't unknowingly take on someone else's energy. While it is important to know how to shield yourself from energy, there are those energies that you may not want to shut out. The energy of laughter from a newborn baby, the feeling of joy radiating from someone in love, and the frequency of calm emanating from an enlightened teacher are just some of the energies coming from others that you may want to have around you. Let's get your take, Paul.
You know, I love it. It's quite interesting. It takes me back to a story I did last week on the effects of COVID-19 on your mental health when you're already sick, so people with comorbidities. And I spoke to a counselor slash mediator, and her topic of focus in this discussion was positive energy and how important it is to your physical health.
Yeah.
And she was speaking of the fact that one of the things that sick persons can do is limit the amount of negative information they intake. For example, your nightly news, the COVID-19 statistics, it can be deemed as negative energy if you have COVID or if you have a comorbidity like diabetes, for example. And she was recommending that persons limit that. So if you're afraid of COVID, if you're really concerned, then think of other things to do. Find positive energy. And she was speaking of how a healthy mind leads to a healthy body. Versus negative energy, and how that further contributes to a negative physical health. And so I thought that was interesting.
That's an interesting perspective. My takeaway from the eye-opener this morning is quite straightforward and simple, in the sense that there are times when you can feel negativity in a room when someone walks in, or when you come into the presence of someone who is perhaps naturally pessimistic or is ill-intentioned, may not necessarily take action there and then to show you that what they have in mind or what they're about to do is something that's going to harm you. But something about the aura, something about the being, something about their soul or spirit, as we would say, radiates a certain negative energy. And so what I've learned to do is I've tried my best to minimize exposure, if I may, to people who naturally have bad thoughts. Like you could be in a room and any given topic can be the point of a discussion. And that individual or those individuals would never see the glass as half full. It's always an approach from a negative perspective. And you find that it's difficult for you to be able to flourish in an environment where the people around you are the ones who are always finding fault, right? And so you're only able to be as successful as you want to be based on the people you surround yourself, or the energy that you surround yourself with. And I like the fact that the eye-opener also spoke to the idea of basking in a certain light and energy, if I may, that comes from being around children, that comes from being around a certain calm, right? There's a certain energy that emanates from being around a newborn, for instance, right? The cooing and crying of the little baby soothes you, but it also kind of helps you to rejuvenate in a manner of speaking, right? It's the same thing like when you're on the beach. You're sitting, you're watching the waves come to shore, you feel the wind and the coconut trees swing or whatsoever. There's a certain calm in that, but that also allows you to be able to harness a certain energy. Your mind goes to faraway places. You're able to think about positive things or happy thoughts, as we would say. And so that's my takeaway from the eye-opener, that being able to identify the negative energy from the kind of energy that you want to be around has a direct bearing on how it is that you look at things and how it is that you go about doing things based on having that energy or that circle around you.
You know, you can't, the thing is too as well, you can't always separate yourself from certain settings. So for example, if you work in that setting and it's a negative setting, there aren't always necessarily opportunities to excuse yourself from that setting. Or if you're a counselor or psychologist who sits at a chair across from someone or across from clients, for 8 hours that just spews negative energy. How then do you maneuver something like that where you can't necessarily escape for a few hours from that negative setting?
Well, it speaks to the idea of, again, what the eye opener mentioned, being able to shield oneself from certain energy,
Yeah.
right? And so perhaps in the case of a counselor or a psychiatrist, if that's your line of duty, then you've
Yeah.
already figured a way how to turn off certain things, right?
Right.
You're there in a professional capacity to render advice and to be able to listen and to, you know, share accordingly.
Yeah.
But you're able to turn off certain things, I would assume. Not a psychiatrist, and I
Yeah.
don't deal in that area, but I would want to think that perhaps that's the approach. So yes, that's the eye opener for this morning, guys. Again, it's taken from dailyarm.com. It's food for thought, and we would hope that you are able to walk away from this eye opener with something that you can think on and
Yeah.
reflect on for the day. All right, so now that being said, we jump into our weather. We were
Weather.
mentioning earlier that we woke up to
A
quite some
lot of
showers this
rains.
morning. As a matter of
Yeah.
fact, those showers persisted overnight. With that being said, we have forecaster Derek Rudon on the line with us this morning. Good morning, forecaster Rudon.
Good morning.
Tell
Good
us what we
morning.
can expect from the weather today, and of course, it's going to be a packed week, and what we can look forward to in terms of the weather in the days ahead.
Okay. For today, then, we can expect cloudy and rainy weather to continue. There's a cold front just north of our area, and it's weakening, but it has caused the just in front of us to become very cloudy and showery. So some of that will definitely move in today. We can expect cloudy skies with some light rain, along with a few showers or thunderstorms to occur. Over most areas, the rain will occur, but especially over southern districts. Tonight will be cloudy at times with a few showers or thunderstorms, mainly along the coast.
What are we looking at towards the end of the week?
Okay, for tomorrow, let's go tomorrow
Sure.
first. Tomorrow, a few showers, some light rain mainly over the coast and north, so less than today, but still a bit showery. And then on Wednesday, we're expecting isolated showers. That increases a bit more on Thursday and Friday. So Wednesday seems like it will be the best day, and then Thursday and Friday, a few more showers come back. Nothing like today, but a few more showers as well.
All right. Is there anything we can look out for in terms of a weather system as
Um,
we are nearing the end of the Atlantic hurricane season?
right, and the tropics has quieted down, so there's nothing out there of interest at the moment. Tropical cyclone formation is not expected during the next couple of days.
In terms of temperatures, what are our highs and our lows for today and tonight?
Okay, highs today will range from 82 along the coast, 86 inland, 72 Fahrenheit up in the mountains. The lows tonight, 72 along the coast, 68 inland, and 63 up in the mountains.
All right.
All right. Thanks a lot, forecaster Rodon, for sharing with that update with us.
All right, you're welcome.
All right. You do enjoy your day and take care.
All right, you too. Bye-bye.
All right.
More rains, Asani, so it looks like it will be a week of wet weather. So
Yeah.
you have to look out for that.
And just as I predicted,
Yeah.
Thursday and Friday we'll see more showers coming our way.
Indeed.
Right? So it's nothing new. It's nothing that we're not prepared for. It's nothing that we, don't expect after all these many years. It's a
Indeed.
seasonal thing.
It's
So
a trend.
it's to be expected. So we go from discussing the weather to discussing stories in the newscast, either that took place over the course of the weekend or last week, or what we can look forward to this week. That being said, we go into our Eye on the News segment. On Friday, we led our newscast with the news that Dr. Fernando Cuellar, who was a member of the board of the Carl Houston Memorial Hospital Authority, had demitted office. And his departure came in the wake of comments that were made several days earlier, on the 10th of November, to be honest, by the Minister of Health and Wellness, Michelle Shabat, with respect of the dearth or the scarcity of supplies at the KHMH, and the fact that there are issues with procurement in respect of what is at this point a global phenomenon which has to do with the supply chain crisis, right? While there are shipments that are being ordered, in this case of medication, the fact that it's not readily available in Belize and the fact that, you know, those shipments are tardy has created an issue at the KHMH in respect of them being able to get the medications that are so very needed. And so the comments that were made by the minister incensed Dr. Koyar enough for him to step down from his seat on the board of directors. I think that speaks to a lot of what is taking place at the KHMH and the dynamics insofar as the oversight and the management of the hospital remain fluid. I say that because a chief executive officer was just appointed to lead the hospital several weeks ago, right? The fact that there has been this perennial call from members of staff for certain reforms and what have you. That's a general picture being painted, but we look at that primarily in the context of the pandemic and the fact that this is our national referral hospital, and as much as it is an independent facility, it relies so heavily on the government of Belize to provide subsidies and to provide assistance in terms of procuring medications and what have you. So it was interesting that this took place on Friday. As I mentioned, we led our newscast with it because it was the news of the day, right? We also know that Minister Chabat also met with other members of the KHMH board on Friday as well, presumably to mend fences or kind of tone things down. I believe perhaps the statements that were made on Wednesday of last week rubbed other members of the board the wrong way as well. And so, you know, the meeting was with a view to kind of patch things up and move forward. Move forward simply because it's so very important that the KHMH remains in a position to be able to aid in the fight against COVID. This is a frontline institution. This is the country's biggest, and it's the national referral facility, as I mentioned earlier. And so it needs to be managed and run as efficiently and effectively as possible to be able to respond to these pandemic times.
You know, we did see last week where Minister Shabat publicly, in one sense, backtracked some of the statements he made on Thursday. In fact, even offering an apology, in a sense, for some of what he said. But taking a look at the situation, because I've been sitting down and thinking about this, I look at the situation from another perspective, the level of influence that our medical practitioners enjoy in this time of COVID-19. When doctors stand up to talk, people listen, especially now more than ever. Take Dr. Manzanero, for example, and his situation. Take the union there at the KHMH, and when they were preparing to protest, and they even did some protesting sometime last year, and now we have Dr. Koyar in the mix and him standing up. It's a level of power that is being afforded to doctors due to the pandemic and the crisis that we're facing. And I don't know if somebody...
Go beyond, if I could interject quickly, I'd go beyond saying a level of power per se, but they speak from a position of credibility.
Indeed.
Right? And so, as you rightfully said, when they take a stand or when they get up to share their position, then we listen because we are not the experts in the medical field, right? So when they are able to say, well, look, this is what we're looking for, or this is what is taking place, then the masses of us lend that ear.
Right, but and to add to that, because you're right, I don't know that health practitioners enjoyed this level of influence outside of the pandemic. We would hear from them a lot, and of course, we would listen to them on issues concerning other diseases. But when it comes to COVID-19, now I think our ears are are more open and susceptible to hearing from them. But also, what we have from medical practitioners now, what we have from our doctors, we have persons that are competent also in policy making. So we have doctors practicing in the hospitals, practicing in their private hospitals, public facilities, but we also have doctors and medical practitioners that can sit around the table, that understands the policies, that understands all of that. So now that influence stretches into that area. That influence stretches around the table. So we're not only hearing from doctors as it relates to how to treat COVID-19 and how to better yourselves personally, but we're hearing from them when it relates to the decisions that matters, decisions on policies, the decisions on guiding and directing the whole process as it relates to treating and preventing COVID-19.
You also have to understand, Paul, that while there is the political directorate, which the minister commands, there are the policymakers and the technocrats on the ground, those who are the ones that guide the various strategies and what have you, insofar as, in this case, fighting against COVID-19. And so, again, when you have someone who has featured prominently in the awareness, either public awareness or the treatment and the approach to dealing with COVID-19, someone like Dr. Quera, who is very vocal, he's outspoken, very frank individual, holds no punches or what have you. When you have someone like him take umbrage to what is being said, and this has to do with the management of the KHMH, that comment coming from the political directorate, perhaps one could see where that would incense anyone. We have perhaps limited supplies, we have limited funds we're dealing with. We're still in a transition phase in terms of this new chief executive officer taking office. And then here comes a comment like this in the middle of the fact that we are short on supplies. We're waiting to be able to procure and bring into the country additional medical supplies to treat those persons who are in need of that particular medication. It can be, kind of off-putting that something like that would be said. Again, this was an interesting thing because the developments were towards the end of the week.
Right.
And of course, we keep monitoring COVID numbers, COVID deaths. We also look at the general health situation and the fact that the healthcare system continues to teeter on the brink of a crisis situation brought on by the pandemic. Now, COVID is only one thing. As you rightly mentioned earlier, there are several other issues within the healthcare system that we're looking at either by way of diseases or the overall picture. All right, so it's going to be interesting to see what pans out in the days ahead in respect of this development. The other thing that we wanted to touch on this morning has to do with the drug plane 11, right? The narco 11, as we would term these individuals who have been incriminated in the landing of a drug plane on the Southern Highway a little over a week or so ago. And the fact that the Bar Association of Belize has put out a release in defense of the Director of Public Prosecutions, Charlene Vidal, who herself was the former president of the Bar, to essentially put certain things into perspective where this entire issue is concerned, right? One, it states that the DPP is estranged from her husband, who is the former commander of operations. And while the DPP's bodyguard, or the individual assigned to her detail, her security detail, is alleged to have been a part of this, it has nothing to do with her. There's no bearing on her or her profession whatsoever. And so this was put out there just so that it kind of, you know, as I mentioned, set the record straight for persons who are out there creating mischief by putting out erroneous information, trying to tie her or Deputy Commissioner of Police Vidal to any of what has been taking place, excuse me, in respect of this landing. So that was another thing that came out in the news towards the end of the week. Notwithstanding the fact that the drug plane 11, they were to have applied for bail on Friday, but that did not materialize for various reasons. And so one of their attorneys, Richard Dickey Bradley, spoke in the media in respect of this matter and how inconveniencing this has been to the natural course that would have been taken. I say that because Fridays are usually set aside for bail applications and hearings, right? And so it was expected that aside from these men being charged earlier in the week, that by Friday they would have been able to apply for Supreme Court bail. And had that been granted, then these individuals would have been free from remand at the Belize Central Prison. Now, tentatively, it has been set for November 23rd for submissions to be made and what have you, right? And as we know, this Friday being November 19th and celebrated as Garifuna Settlement Day, it's a public and bank holiday, so there won't be any matters before the court. They too will be closed on Friday. So this has been set for the 23rd, and of course, it's something that we will be looking closely at to see, you know, what comes out of this. From a sort of broader picture, the Belize Police Department is still reeling from another black eye that this has created. Again, we sat here last week and I was able to recount several previous incidents where police officers were said to have been involved in facilitating narco-trafficking activities in and around Belize, right? And so this is just another one of those scenarios where there is damage control to be done, and of course the rebuilding of public confidence in the Belize Police Department in light of what has taken place.
You know, we are on the streets, we're on the ground, and it's evident before this situation took place that public trust in the department has been eroding, and I do believe it will be a long and hard process for the department to regain that trust. And however the commissioner seeks to do that, he referred to this time, this period in the department as silly season, considering that there is a deputy commissioner post up for grabs. So I believe that that situation may have to be settled first, that position may have to be filled first before they can focus on you know, rebuilding that trust that they're seeking from the public.
Well, internal politics aside though, this is a situation where you're looking at a degree of cynicism from the public, because the prevailing thought is, well, these officers will walk.
Yeah.
What evidence, substantial or otherwise, do you have that would tie them to that particular scene or what have you? I think that's one of the questions that continues to play in the minds of most people's, you know, and so that in itself creates a certain doubt, a certain cynicism that we will actually see convictions coming out of this. So again, this is something that we're following closely to see what the eventual result or the outcome would be once the matter goes before the court and it is tested. So there we are for the Eye on the News this morning. Of course, there are a lot of other stories, including the final outcome of COP26. I know that there's an agreement or a new accord that was signed towards the end of the 2-week session. And of course, our colleague will later on apprise us in the newsroom and of course, you guys as viewers in the country of Belize as to what that accord is and how Belize ties into this entire global effort. So these stories, of course, you can catch at 6 o'clock. You can watch it on News 5 Live, or you can join us on Facebook or YouTube where we stream our content. That does it for the Eye on the News this morning. And so before we go into our commercial break, we want to share with our public what they can expect insofar as the discussions that we will be touching on this morning. So our first segment, we are in the COVID update, and of course we will be discussing with Roxana Zib. She is a survivor of COVID-19, and she will be discussing her story of being hospitalized with the virus. Again, this is an ongoing discussion that we've been having with people who have contracted COVID and who have been able to successfully fight it off, and them sharing their experiences with us.
In our second conversation, we'll be having a man-to-man talk. We'll be focusing on discussions around a forum that's focusing on the laws of marriage and union. So we'll have in a representative from the Hub Resource Community Center and a representative from NCFC.
And our final segment of the morning, our third conversation, will be with our friends from the Aspire for Greatness Foundation. They are embarking upon a Christmas tablet and toy drive, and they are turning to you to be able to lend your assistance in them being able to meet their targets. So that will be our third and final conversation of the morning. That being said, we'll go to our first commercial break, and when we return, it's to begin our discussion in full.
Bundle the fastest, most reliable, unlimited broadband in Belize with your prepaid or postpaid mobile plan or Netflix. You can bundle your broadband with your prepaid and enjoy 50% off all national calls, plus get SMS and data. Paid plans? Then bundle with any speed and pay only $25 extra monthly to enjoy unlimited smart-to-smart calls, plus 500 minutes, plus 6,300 megabytes of data. Stream unlimited HD movies and TV shows with our broadband, plus the Netflix add-on for only $30 monthly, and enjoy streaming on your laptop, TV, phone, or tablet. Visit a smart showroom near you to sign up or upgrade to the bundle that's right for you. Smart, bringing people together.
After a rough week of school, Jake and his friends decide to treat themselves to frozen coffee. And since they don't have cash on them, they decide to use eCash. With eCash's geolocation feature, Jake can easily find the nearest coffee spot. With eCash's built-in option to split bills, Jake can pay the bill and his friends can reimburse their portion of the bill. Jake scans the merchant's code and confirms payment. Jake then views his transaction history and taps on the transaction recently made, then taps the split the bill button where he selects the evenly option to evenly split the bill. The application splits the bill automatically. His friends receive and accept the request. Geolocation and splitting the bill via eCash makes Jake enjoy his digital lifestyle.
I was officially tasked by my work to attend the first barbershop training, and I found out that it's a really refreshing thought. It helps a lot. It gives you a fresh look at life. It gives people a chance to develop. It gives people a chance to grow. It gives people a chance to be themselves, and it helps them to grow as a person. For me, what I took the most from this session was the fact that sometimes we try to give rules and regulation to our kids growing up, like boys shouldn't cry. Certain things are just for girls, certain jobs are just for boys, and we kind of hold back young persons from reaching to their full potential.
It's key for me to understand that gender-based biases are real. It's something that I will take and convert into my knowledge and make sure that I push out when it comes to offering these services here at the Department of Youth Services.
I'll be committing to working with my kids, working with my friends, working with the young persons that I come in contact with to put an end to domestic violence, gender-based violence, and violence against young people on a whole.
Morning, B.
Ready for full laybacks?
Yes, man. Just grab the rope and I'll put down the camera. My name is Josh Marin. I'm a commercial fisherman out of San Pedro, and I've been fishing my whole life. We've been noticing that each and every time we go out, we have to find further grounds. So when I heard about the program, I found it as a very good business opportunity. Other fishermen, when they go out, they tend to bring in everything and anything, and that's what me and my crew don't do. We practice responsible fishing.
Just show me how the app work, G.
Easy thing, bro. All we gotta do is we're gonna put in how much fish we catch right here. Today we get 15 pounds of champagne and 30 pounds of queens. We have punch that in, and that's all. Oh, one more thing.
Today's COVID update is brought to you by Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price but stay for the service.
And welcome back. We begin our first conversation of the morning with a recovered COVID-19 patient. As I mentioned to you guys prior to the commercial break, we will be discussing with Roxana Zib about her experience having dealt with COVID-19 and what are some of the long-haul effects she is still going through and experiencing. Good morning, Roxana, and thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Isani and Paul.
Good morning.
And viewers.
Let's get some background first of all as to when you contracted COVID-19. What was the severity of the bout that you had with COVID-19, and of course, how you're doing as far as things are today?
I got COVID October 16th, and it was really hard, you know, at the beginning, but
Take your time.
Sorry, I'm very nervous.
That's okay. That's okay. Just share with us what the experience was like. So you caught COVID in October 26th, on October 16th, my apology. What was it from there? Were you hospitalized? Were you being treated at home? What happened thereafter?
Um, when we first found out that I had COVID, um, my uncle, who is a doctor, recommended that I was hospitalized immediately, due to the fact that I only have one lung. And the doctor here had already, I had taken some blood work, and he had already told me that I had pneumonia. He was treating me for pneumonia. So with that, yes, I was hospitalized, and I checked into the hospital on the Saturday, like it was around 6, and my husband drove me up from Belmopan to Belize. And when I got there, this lady in a full white suit, fully dressed with shield, mask, everything, she came and she get me, and took me to this room where I had some blood work, and other tests and preparation, So with that, after that, they took me to the COVID ward, and which when you enter, it's like pretty scary, And when I got into the room, when they took me to the room, they connect me to oxygen drips and started medication immediately. It was like, they told me it was going to be a 5-day treatment. And the doctor said that I went in time because my lung was already infected 10%. And it would enable me to recover, have a better chance of recovery,
In terms of your lung condition, is it that you have been operating with one lung before COVID, before you caught COVID, or was this?
Yes, no. I had an accident, and they had to remove the lung. So I've been living with one lung,
Did that make the occurrence a bit more scarier for you, I would imagine?
Well, yes, because when they first told me that I was tested positive, all sorts of things enter my thoughts, what will happen to my family, my girls, because I have 2 daughters, my husband, what will happen if I die, because it's just like mixed emotion, everything, and we've seen the news, we've heard a lot about COVID, young people, all ages dying from COVID, young, old, and here I am with my one lung and now have COVID, something that we dread, and at that moment I had to just gain composure and call upon the Lord for strength, and to fight this deadly disease.
Yeah, I would imagine your concerns, considering the fact that this virus attacks your respiratory system, and here you are telling yourself, I only have one lung functioning, and I have this virus. How critical were you at the time when you arrived at the hospital?
Well, I was, thank God I was holding up, and the doctors, well, when they told me about that, I think I was doing pretty good at that moment, because like the doctors say, I got there in time. So and then immediately they started the treatment.
At what point did you think or consider to get tested? Were you feeling some sort of fatigue? What were the signs that you were feeling?
I was already getting some checkups with my doctor here in Belmopan, and because I was having a back issue, like at my lower back, and with the diabetes, because I'm diabetic.
Okay.
So I was getting full checkup and everything, and when I got tested, when when it all happened was when my daughter was to travel the back to the US, and she took her she had to go take her test, right? The same day I was to go see doctor. So we decided let's go together. And when she came back, she told me, Mom, I am positive. I tested positive.
Wow.
So with that, we were already, we spent a lot of time the previous days together watching movies, cuddling up because she's getting ready to go back, and not knowing that she had tested positive, or she had the virus, no? And with that, what I was going through got worse. This cough, it was persistent, like all day. I was getting tired, and then I went and I took my test because my uncle had requested that I go and take it, no? So that's when, like I said, they told me that I was positive.
Are you vaccinated, Ms. Sib?
Yes, I received both vaccination. Both, the first one was in March, and the second one in June. And it was the AstraZeneca that I had received. And I do believe that this increased the recovery factor as well.
So you've mentioned being in close contact with your daughter who initially tested positive. Was there anyone else in your family, perhaps your husband or your other daughter, who may have also been exposed or had contracted COVID in this manner?
Well, thank God that none, my husband and my younger daughter, they both were negative. And we live in the same house. Well, but, we just took precautions and, start to, we had discussed this before, right? So we had to put protocols in place.
What was the degree of concern, however, from your loved ones? Because they already know what your comorbidities are. You're afflicted as well with diabetes. You already have one lung. And so you, as a patient or a victim of COVID-19, you're already in a very precarious, dangerous situation. But them, I'm assuming, wanting to help you would equally put them at risk of contracting COVID. So what was the degree of concern from your husband and your other kids?
Well, everybody was really worried, but they trust, in God, and that's what pulled us through, no? All the prayers, all the we kept in touch and everything, my mom, and she was really worried, but they trusted that I would be okay.
Do you know exactly where you were exposed to the virus? Have you been able to ascertain whether it was inside your house while interacting with your daughter, or whether both of you perhaps were exposed somewhere outside of the home while together?
Well, I believe it was from her, and I don't really go out for the same reason. I'm mostly at home. Even when it comes to the shopping and everything, my husband is the one that goes out. Ever since COVID hit, we're very careful, but then again, how careful can we be?
Yeah.
But I believe it's from my daughter. She went to visit a couple places while she was here, and the last place she went was in San Pedro for an overnight with a couple friends. And when she came back after, we thought she suffers with allergy, right? So we thought it was allergy that she had. So I was giving her antihistamine and vitamin C. Just then the following day she said she feel like she have a little fever. So I was giving her Tylenol, but never did we think it was COVID.
Yeah, I think it's interesting with you saying how careful can we be. It's a solid point in that. Truthfully, the question is how careful can we be? In your going out, interacting outside of your home, what kind of precautions did you take? How cautious were you outside?
Well, we normally practice social distancing, and we sanitize, like even my hands right now can't take it.
Wow.
But we wear our mask, and the only place I normally go would be like to my mom. I go and I see her, I spend time, and going out is very minimal.
So, you've recovered from COVID-19. What are you dealing with at present in terms of any after effects or perhaps other issues that have arisen as a result of you having dealt with COVID a few weeks ago?
Well, after hospitalization, I and the isolation at home, I was able to start the recovery process, right? I was still on medication. As is, I'm still taking a medication, and I do have fatigue, daily fatigue, and I now need to monitor. I have I believe it's circulation of the blood. Like my feet tend to get swollen a lot, something that I never had before. So the doctor told me to continue to monitor it and gave me a prescription to to recommend that I take some other tests. So that is pending coming, if it continues.
Going back a bit to your hospitalization, how long were you hospitalized, and speak to what that experience was like for you.
Um, I was hospitalized for 5 days. Well, we would say six. Um, it was a bit, you know, uh, like lonely when, like, when you're in that room all by yourself, and it it was you at that moment, you start to you're worried and everything, but the good thing is that the nurses, they come into time, with medication, and they make you feel comfortable. So and another thing that helped me through that was that technology, I could video chat with my mom, with my husband, and that's how they, would get back to the family and friends and let them know, well, my progress while I was there. But throughout it, I kept my faith and I prayed a lot, I listened to my little Christian music, I felt positive, even though, like things happen to us, we have to always keep the faith, and things will work out.
We've heard stories from COVID-19 survivors who say that a lot of the fight is mental, in that while this virus is attacking your body, it's the mental strength that usually gets them through. How much of a mental fight was this battle for you, being hospitalized?
Well, mentally, I like I said, what I did was I prayed a lot. And that's what really pulled me through, because if I try to practice to always think positive.
Yeah.
Once you stay positive, positive things will happen. So whenever the enemy try to attack or put negative thoughts in my head, I pray, and like I said, that's what have me here.
What would you share with viewers in terms of what you have been able to take away from this experience for them to either be more cautious or aware of in terms of going about their daily lives amid this pandemic?
My advice would be, first of all, keep the faith in God, but also take precautions and stick to protocols, especially when socializing, protect yourself and protect those around you. Get vaccinated, and consider the possibility of not being with your family if COVID gets the better of you.
Let's speak to your road to recovery. I know we spoke about it a bit earlier, but in terms of how is your single lung doing at this time? We know that the virus does affect that and its capabilities.
Well, 2 weeks after I had my doctor's appointment follow-up, and I went and I did some tests there. And when it comes to my lung, the doctors say it's, it recovered, it's good. So,
wow.
Thanks to God that, all the prayers, all the love, everything, my lung is okay.
And your daughter, how is she?
Well, she did really good, because at the beginning I was I was taking care of her, but after that, when I, got worse, my husband had to continue, preparing the food, doing what we need to do, and she's doing great. She's back in Chicago. She's working, going to school, and the only thing what still affects her is the tiredness, fatigue. She's tired. Even when she was traveling, she was like, "Mom, it was hard to even breathe in the mask," and it was, she struggled at the beginning, but she's doing much better now.
For you currently, what are your limitations inside the home in terms of the things you were accustomed to doing that you now have to kind of take a step back on at this time?
Well, at the beginning, it was hard because I had to isolate in my room. And they told me instead, because of the severeness of, that I had to be hospitalized. It wasn't 14 days, it was 21 days.
Wow.
So it was hard to be locked up in my room, and my husband getting my food, putting it at the door, and have to sanitize, and the good part is that I was upstairs and he could be downstairs now, so we had that, we didn't have that close contact, and with that, it was hard because you want to be out, not my younger daughter, my in-laws, her grandma, had her for a week. We wanted to be sure that she was okay. Yes, and so well, that week ended up into 2 weeks because I wanted to be sure that I was, clear and negative, so we waited, and then I took another test, and it was negative.
So you would say that right now you're back in the house and you're doing things you used to do the way you were doing them?
Yes, I finally get to come downstairs and, do more. And at the beginning, I was still wearing masks. My husband was still wearing his mask, and we still had that little distance. But now I say it's pretty much a little bit more to normal. and just slower, you know.
I know you mentioned the support of your husband as well as the support of your in-laws. Would you speak to that a bit? How important uh, is it, the role that the community plays in your recovery and in your daughter recovery, understanding that it's not just a one-man effort to recovery?
You know, it's very important, and it plays a big role, you know, especially when, you know, we could all get together, you know, even, you know, friends, family, and then, you know, COVID could catch anyone, you know.
Yeah.
So I think we shouldn't be ashamed. You know, a lot of people feel ashamed, you know, or don't want others to know that they have COVID, but you know, we take a big risk by doing that. So
It's interesting that you would mention that because I can recall at the onset there was a certain stigma about people who are inflicted with COVID and who are afflicted with COVID, and the fact that they are ashamed of saying, you know what, I have it or I caught it or whatever, as if though it's something bad, but it is so everywhere, it's so pervasive at this point that, you know, in some cases you can't even trace where you caught it from. You may be at work, you may be at home. In your case, you believe that it was from your daughter who was exposed elsewhere. What would be your message, knowing that, you know what, all of that stigma and the discrimination of having caught COVID is something of the past, where we're now learning to accept that, you know what, this thing is everywhere and anyone can catch it. What would be your message now that you have lived through this ordeal?
My you know, I would say, you know, we just need to take a lot of precaution and let's take care of each other, you know. Let's be a friend. Let's you know, get in touch, you know, even if it's not with the person but the family, you know, a family member, give support. And we need to fight this, you know, together.
All right. Any final words to your loved ones and those who are there for you during your sickness?
Yes, I would like to, you know, thank my mother, my father, my in-laws, you know, my husband, you know, all my aunt. I have a very aunt that I'm very close with, and she was, you know, she's always there, you know. Thanks for all the support, all the prayers, you know, prayer warriors, you know, from all over. You know, kept in touch with my in-laws, with my mother, and you know, I received a lot of prayers, you know, through WhatsApp, and you know, it all kept me, you know, going. And I would like to thank everyone, you know, who helped, especially you know, the moral support, the financial support. You know, it was, I'm very, very thankful and appreciate, you know, each and every one of you.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, Roxana, and sharing with us your experience with COVID. We wish you all the best in your continued recovery. Take care.
Thank you.
All right. We now go to our next commercial break, and when we return, it's to discuss all things man and manly, is it?
Man to man.
We'll be discussing marriage and union with our friends from The Hub.
This COVID update was brought to you by Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.
Working off-site doesn't mean you have to be off your game. Studies have shown that simply adding a keyboard and mouse to your laptop increases productivity by 26%. Add a monitor and you'll be 35% more productive. At At Fulltech Systems, we have what you need to enhance your remote work or e-learning experience. With devices such as headsets, video conferencing monitors, webcams, keyboards, mice, docking stations, all with the brands you trust. Keep connected with collaboration tools like Microsoft 365 Suite and Kaspersky and perform efficiently no matter where you are. Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.
With RF&G Insurance, you can request a quote, renew a policy, purchase a policy, and even file a claim effortlessly with WhatsApp. Here's how. WhatsApp the words "Get Started" to 670-8700. We will prompt you to select the service that you are interested in. Select the service and answer a few simple questions. An RF&G representative will process your request and follow up with you when your transaction is completed. It's that easy. Skip lines and WhatsApp us. Remember, it pays to get it right with RF&G Insurance, a Road Group company.
The Belize Bank, our country, your bank.
How can we support the emotional well-being of older adults during COVID-19? During the COVID-19 pandemic, and particularly while in quarantine, individuals, including older adults, may become more anxious, angry, stressed, agitated, or withdrawn, especially those who need healthcare assistance or have cognitive decline or dementia. Here are 4 strategies that can help you in supporting an older adult during this difficult time. 1. Communicate information and listen. Present with accurate, simple, and accessible information and facts about the COVID-19 outbreak, its progression, treatment, and effective strategies to prevent infection. Listen patiently to their needs and concerns. For older people with mild cognitive impairment or early stages of dementia, inform them of what is happening within their capacity and provide support to ease their anxiety and stress. 2. Promote positive mental and emotional health. Provide access to available mental health and psychosocial support services, also known as MHPSS services, for older adults and communicate when and how they can access them. Help older people keep regular routines and schedules as much as possible. You can also help them create new ones, including regular exercising, cleaning, daily chores, singing, painting, or other activities. Facilitate regular communication between older adults and their friends and families. 3. Help with medical needs. Make sure that older adults have at least up to 1 month of all the regular medicines that they may require. Explain how to use protective devices in a clear, concise way. Always be respectful and patient. 4. Assist with daily activities. Provide older people with details related to how and where they can get practical help if needed, like calling a taxi, dropping off supplies, having groceries delivered, and requesting medical care, as well as information on any locally available social support programs and services. For more information, consult the webpage of the Pan American Health Organization, www.paho.org/coronavirus.
And we are back. We have been joined virtually via Zoom by the manager of the Hub and Resource Community Center, Arthur Usher. Good morning, Arthur.
Good morning, Sonny. Morning.
Good morning.
We also have been joined by Eli Romero. He is the Monitoring and Evaluation Officer for the National Committee for Families and Children. Good morning, Eli.
Good morning, Sonny. Good morning.
As we've mentioned, we're about to commence a conversation to discuss issues surrounding men, affecting men, and of course, the overall institutions of marriage and the union between man and woman. Good morning once again, guys. I'm looking forward to this conversation with you guys. Let's begin, first of all, Arthur, by putting into perspective the need for such a conversation to be held.
Well, barring any or obvious issues that we see in the news and all these other conversations that have been happening over the years, I think generally it is important to reemphasize the union, not necessarily only of that nucleus marriage, but generally the family. And I think that's what we hope to come across through the National Parenting Task Force and organizing these meal talks on a regular basis.
Okay, so let's get Eli to weigh in on the NCFC's role in facilitating this conversation.
Yes, well, the NCFC is mandated to support and champion the rights of children and also the for families. And when we talk about children, they're just one part of the entire family. So getting the fathers involved has been an area that NCFC, with partnership from UNICEF and its line Ministry of Human Development, have really looked in how we can improve that based on the involvement of fathers in the life of children. There is a significant difference between how much time a father spends with their children compared to the mother. And that is something as an organization mandated to support children and families is an area that we really want to see how we can improve because it significantly improves the well-being of children by having both parents actively involved in child rearing.
So let me ask you this, and perhaps this goes for either yourself or for Arthur. We're looking at quality time versus simply time being spent in the household or around the kids, because perhaps one could argue that having a meaningful experience with your children, those are the memorable ones insofar as being able to sit with your child and have a conversation, take your kid somewhere where you can do some bonding versus, well, you wake up in the house and mommy and daddy are at home. Where do we go? What are we looking at in terms of these kinds of dynamics?
It definitely looks at spending quality time with your children. During COVID, one of the things that has been very much the norm now is that a lot of the mothers are spending a lot of time with the children, especially with their work from home. And that is where we also would want to encourage fathers to also spend time with their children while the children are taking their classes at home, but also spending that quality time that you mentioned. It is not only about being at home around, and if you're at home and you're not spending time with your children, you're locked up in your room or you're in front of the television, that is not quality time with the child. So the idea is for fathers to spend a little bit more of bonding time, outdoor activities, and even indoor activities can be, you can create quality time with your children, but it's just a matter of getting involved in the life of your child, listening to your children, being there as a friend.
With such important conversations, how do we get men to the table to engage in these discussions?
Yeah, I think that's a valid question in terms of how we get men. I think the assumption is that men don't want to speak about these issues, and I think that's an unfair assumption. I think a lot of men want to spend time with their kids. They want to be involved. if we engage them in a way that is appealing to them, and then we can have these discussions, and bring them to the table and discuss the way forward. I think for the most part, we have been seeing, while it may not have been, put out there in the public view, I think that a lot of men are doing what they are supposed to do. But I think sometimes we have to be recognizing their efforts. But I think a lot of men do want to be involved and care for their kids. Sometimes it's a matter of not knowing how specifically, given all the other issues that are happening. But I think if we can give them some tools and some guidance, I think it will be okay.
I think it's important indeed for men to be recognized for their role in the family and in terms of parenting, because not to take anything away from how important women are in terms of being there and keeping the unit together, oftentimes because the single family home is so prevalent these days, we always look to the women and say, okay, the role of the mother is so much more pronounced and it's so important, because majority of cases we look at now, it's only her that is heading the home. But then you also have situations where men do play their part, men do handle, their business, so to speak, but by and large, those efforts go overlooked because of how society views the situation on a whole. Would you agree?
Yes, definitely. I think it's give or take, because yes, you do have men who are delinquent, and yes, you do have women who are delinquent. For whatever reason, the male side of that coin has always been the more prevalent story, and I think we have to work a bit harder to kind of showcase that the other sides to that story. Parenting and managing the household and all these other areas, it is by design a two-person job.
Yeah.
And, we've been seeing, like you mentioned, single parent households and all these situations. The child, as Mr. Romero mentioned, in CFC, and we are focused on the family structure, the child needs both. Now, how effective both parents are in that relationship will also determine the psyche and strength of that child. And so our main importance and our main look is developing the family structure in whatever context that would be. We are looking at that as our ultimate goal.
When having a discussion with men about the laws of marriage and unions, what sort of direction does that conversation take? How do you even initiate such a conversation?
Well, I think that one of the things that, if you look at previous surveys that have been done in Belize, one of them being the mixed survey, the latest being, although outdated in 2016, clearly shows that a lot of men, there are a lot less men running a family compared to having a single family run by a woman. And that's not because men aren't capable or men don't have the right to do so. One of the things that was brought up during the last forum that we had back in June was really emphasizing on custody and who has the right to custody of a child. Men have equal rights as women in relation, even on marriage and a common law union. There are some areas whereby a woman would have a little bit more rights than the men, but that is because men have to prove fatherhood. You can say, yes, I'm the mother, but the father is something that, unless you willingly accept it, then that's fine, and then you have an agreement. But if there's a dispute, it's the man who has to prove that he's the father or he's not the father.
You're speaking to paternity directly, as in you are the biological parent of this child, or the father of this child in this case.
Yes, and that is when disputes come into play. But if there isn't any dispute, then it is both parents have equal right and custody, even in areas where you have divorce or separation. the father has right to spend time with his child and spend even apply for custody. Actually, men can also, in case, they can also apply for maintenance if it so happens. So it's something that many times I think we don't understand the law behind custody, marriage, unions, and we take things for granted. And the entire purpose of what the National Parenting Task Force from NCFC is trying to do is use this tool to educate us, to educate men from all backgrounds, so that you know what are your rights, you know what governs these decisions that you make when you decide to get married. If you decide to get married with somebody who has a child, you're legally responsible for that child as well. So those are some things that I think because we're ignorant of the fact that of the laws that exist that govern these parts of the social life, we tend to run into issues where we say, well, no, I'm not legally mandated to take care of this child because if he isn't mine or she isn't mine. But really and truly you are. But go ahead.
Yeah, there is this prevailing thought, and it has been present with us from time immemorial. You can't have and I'll use this colloquially. I hope I don't get into trouble for it, but the expression goes, right? You can't have the cow without the calf, so to speak, right? So it's difficult for any individual, a spouse, to go into a situation where there is already a child or children involved from a previous relationship, and you would find yourself in that situation and not want to look out for these children or this particular child. You have to be able to accept the mother along with the child or the children if that were the case.
That is true. And usually it's not an issue, but there are instances where that becomes an issue. Either might lead to domestic violence and all these things because they're interconnected. I think the happier a marriage or union is, it reflects on the type of lifestyle that we give to our children. Yeah. So yes, if all of these things are considered and people are mature enough to really accept things and accept their responsibilities, it really reflects on how productive and happy the family can be, and an extension the children.
And perhaps that's where I wanted to take the next question in terms of how much emphasis is placed on equipping the men with the type of principles and values necessary to maintain a marriage and to maintain a family.
Yeah, I think in terms of, right, that's a solid question in terms of equipping men with these skills. In terms of equipment, I would think that the equipment starts from young, right? Yeah. From a child, in terms of understanding yourself, your role as a man, as a male within the society, and how that plays out and what is expected of you. And these values and traditions and stuff that we pass on also then influence our decisions as men, and then which translates into how we view relationships later on. So it's not just, I like to say, you don't try to bend the tree after it's grown, right? So I think on our end, the education aspect in relation to this upcoming male forum is giving information, yes, to men, but ultimately I think it's our responsibility to then disseminate that information, to talk to our young boys, to talk to our children, right? And begin that conversation about how you view relationships, and then that will translate into the type of man he will become and how he would then view relationships, and hopefully he does not perpetrate some of the negative stereotypes. And so again, it's not to say that, and I hear this a lot, I'm sure you guys hear it a lot. I'm looking at some shows over the weekend, and there's this constant battle between manhood in the prevalence of male toxicity and all these other concepts that they're throwing out there. And I want to really reiterate that being a man is not bad. You know, being male is not bad. We have to look at what we want to achieve and how we want to achieve it, and start to pass down our value systems that then lead to these actions and change in actions.
Yeah, I mean, out there we have so much breakdown in terms of the value system, where you're speaking about perpetuating some of these same type of behaviors. It's all too common because we find it all too common for men to be outside of the home, to live outside of the home, to live outside of the family they've established, to as one would put it, run behind any skirt. These are some of the values, some of the traditions and practices we find all too common. And you speak of not wanting to bend the tree, or not being able to bend the tree when it gets to a certain age. How much of a challenge is it sifting through some of these preconceptions that these men come into, and some of these values that these men come into these forums with?
Yes.
Go ahead, Yali.
Yes, Paul. I think we undervalue the entire value of information and data. If we take our men population in Belize and we educate them a little bit more in terms of what are their rights, how they can improve their relationships and their interactions with children, it is one way of trying to push in changing the social norm. I think at NCFC, along with many of its partners, that is some of the key areas we always try to focus on. How do we change the social norms? Because a lot of these things, as you rightly said, they are engraved in our lifestyle. We are grown like that. And I think if we improve how much the men are educating themselves in learning of all these different laws and policies and regulations that govern their interaction in the family, we tend to try to improve. Maybe we won't be able to change his generation or his perspective at that given time, but at least we can try to change how they interact with their children. And then instead of, let's say he learned a lot of what he had to learn on the streets, then maybe he will spend a little bit more time to teach his children at home and not allow his child to get all this information from the streets. Because we know that exposing children, especially from a very early age, and getting them to learn all these things from the streets is often not the best approach. It's not to say that there aren't good people out there that are trying to help children, but very often it's more predators that we have out there that tend to drive the children a little bit away from the household nucleus and more to the violence and tends to interact. And if you look at the relationship, the relationship between the families and then what children end up doing in terms of getting involved with the law, there's a very strong correlation. The more time you spend out of home, then you're more likely to get in conflict with the law. And that is what we're trying to reduce, because it's mostly our boys and men that are getting involved in all these problems with the law. So by us educating ourselves, educating our general public, our boys, our fathers, our grandfathers, then hopefully we can start to push for that change in norms. Isn't easy. Those are some of the hardest things to change.
If you look at what has been taking place traditionally versus what is taking place currently, perhaps one can agree that back in the day, our parents stayed together, our grandparents stayed together, and that is what formed the strength of the family. And out of that comes parenting and the values that come along with being able to teach children what it is to be individual, what it is to assume your role as a man or a woman later on in life. That was, in a manner of speaking, back then. If you're looking at what is taking place today, you have people who don't want to work out a situation with each other. So the easiest thing is to look at the front door. And when you're looking at the front door and you're saying, I'm out, either man or woman, then it's the child that ends up having to suffer the consequence of that decision. And then the child is left without one parent as one of two fixtures in the household. Right. So how difficult is it now to be able to encourage couples in this case, either those who are wedded or those who are in common law union, that perhaps working through certain issues would allow for a stronger union to be able to raise a child or children in that particular environment?
I think for the most part, the difficulty with that is looking at the person itself. Do I want to stay in this marriage or relationship? Okay, so and then you start from there. And this goes into a lot of conversational pieces, I think, counseling and discussion and stuff like that. It takes some time for people to understand, I think, or to, like you rightfully mentioned, when times get tough, do I go through the door or do I stay? And that conversation has to be surrounded with understanding the benefits of staying adverse to leaving. And as we mentioned, we're talking about the children and the family, and leaving then takes away from the family and the child. And it's not just the boy child that needs the father and the mother, the girl child needs both as well. And so development can happen. And so if we, the difficulty I think with that is people not wanting to fight for their relationships and not understanding the strength of the relationships. Now, saying that, it doesn't mean that every relationship will end up 60, 70 years in marriage and fruitful and happy. And yes, there are provisions for divorce and things like that. So if there's really no other option, then yeah, okay. But even within, and that's part of the conversation we'll be having on Wednesday, even within a separated relationship, how do you maintain that relationship to at least give the child a fighting chance and still maintain a mother-father dynamic, even if it's a separated relationship?
I think it's no doubt that these conversations are important. It's no secret that for the most part, our men are missing in the homes. When we go out in the streets and we report on violence involving young men in particular, we often hear either from a crying mother or a crying grandmother or an aunt raising the child. So there are rare cases where we do hear from fathers. So speak to the upcoming event, when it will happen, and how when and where, and how men can participate.
So the man-to-man talk is taking place this coming Wednesday. We're meeting at the Bithmore, whereby we're going to be engaging men and talking a little bit more in terms of the last one we spoke about custody and rape. Those are very sensitive topics, but this time we're talking about marriage and unions and what circulates around these two very interesting topics. And the idea is to really get men engaged, for them to be able to feel that they're in a safe space, that they can express themselves, they can share their experiences. It is very often that at the beginning they're a little bit shy, but given the progression of the workshop, we've experienced that they pretty much open up and they have a lot to share, and we want to listen to what they have to share, take their comments, and really go through the process of sharing all of this information, these comments with the relevant government and non-government departments and institutions that can really provide support.
And in terms of the meal talk, again, it's a matter of celebrating or recognizing International Men's Day, which is November 19th. And that's under the theme Better Relations between men and women. And so we also have to recognize, again, I know that November 19th is a bit busy in Belize, but November 19th is also International Men's Day. And so I want to really make that mention. And we do this every year. We try to have something to honor and to recognize men and really big up our contributions throughout the society. I get the feeling sometimes that we feel as if we are not being acknowledged, and I want to say right now that to all the guys out there, we do recognize the work, and we want to make sure you continue doing what you're doing. Big up to you guys in studios as well. It's an honor to see two men doing the role that you guys do.
Thank you.
All right, thanks a lot, guys. So we look forward to seeing you and hearing from you on Wednesday when you have the man-to-man talk, and to get some deeper insight from you insofar as the role of men, not only in the family, but in the broader society. Thanks for having joined us this morning, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you very much for hosting us.
All right. So we'll go to our final commercial break, well, our third commercial break, I should say, and when we return, it's to have a discussion in studio with Urson Picard. He's from the Aspire for Greatness Foundation, and we'll be talking about the upcoming tablet and toy drive for the Christmas holidays. Stay tuned.
Life can be tough when a loved one suddenly departs. Dependents of the deceased are sometimes left alone to pick up the pieces and may be stranded financially. Fortunately, the Social Security Board provides survivor's benefit to ease the burden. Survivor's benefit is paid to a widow or widower, children under 18 years, or up to 21 years if attending school, or dependent parents. A survivor's benefit can be either a grant or a pension. Want to know more about survivor's benefit? Visit our website or contact any of our offices to have someone assist you. Also, be sure to visit our Facebook page and give us a like to stay informed. Social Security Board, safeguarding you, your family, your future.
As one of the largest cable and internet providers in Belize, CBC strives to provide our customers with the highest standards of quality, value, and service in all aspects of cable TV and internet. Monitoring our systems closely, our technicians combine creative planning and state-of-the-art technology with years of experience and training to develop and provide the most reliable and advanced cable and internet service to exceed your expectations. For CBC and our team of talented engineers, technicians, and customer service representatives, delivering less than the very best is never an option.
We have been a partner with Smart for over 10 plus years. We have a full Smart plan we use as our major driver for our business. We have a service that rolls over in that if you call one and it is busy, it rolls over to the next line. So once you call us, you can get us at any time. Before we got this Smart service, we were paying upwards of nearly $2,000 in phone bills. Since we've had our Smart service, we pay an average about $600. So we've had tremendous saving, more than 50%. For the businesses, if you want to save money, switch to Smart because it is far more cost effective and the service is excellent.
Smart continues to be innovative in bringing new technology and meaningful savings during these challenging times to businesses across Belize. Sign up for our VoIP technology or broadband packages and save more.
This can be you. Get vaccinated. The life you save can be yours. This is a message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Following the COVID-19 vaccination, some people may experience side effects such as soreness at the injection site, chills, nausea, body aches, or a fever. But these symptoms go away after a few days. These side effects are a result of your immune system responding to the vaccine and are not a sign that you are sick with COVID-19. The COVID-19 vaccines will not give you COVID. When you receive your vaccine, the health worker will advise you what to take if you are experiencing any of these side effects. Remember, these mild side effects cannot compare to you not being able to share memorable moments with your family and friends if you fall gravely ill from COVID. Vaccines bring us closer.
With eCash, bill payment is extremely convenient, and all utility companies accept eCash payments. What's even better? You get to split bills with your roommates, siblings, or whoever you desire. Simply open your eCash app, go to Bill Pay, tap the respective utility company, enter the information, and pay the bill. Then tap the transaction made. Tap Split the bill. Select Evenly. Send the request to who you are splitting the bill with, and get notified when they pay. Talk about making life easy and avoiding confusion. You can split the bill for restaurants, grocery stores, and for any eCash payment you make. To find your next yummy meal, hair treatment, or chill spot, simply open the app and utilize the geolocation service to see nearby businesses that accept eCash. Geolocation and bill payment make life a whole lot easier.
All right, and welcome back. As we promised, we have Ursine Picard in studios with us this morning to discuss this Christmas tablet drive that they're participating in. He's participating in. Ursine, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Paul. Good morning, Isani. Good morning, Belize. Thanks for having us.
We also have with us virtually Farron Smith, who is also a part of this initiative, this drive that is taking place over the Christmas holidays.
Now, it's to assist high school students. Speak to what inspired this initiative.
So, the Christmas Tablet and Toy Drive is an initiative which is a partnership between True Belizean, which is run by its director, Mr. Farron Smith Jr., out of Los Angeles, California, and my foundation, which is Aspire for Greatness Foundation, which is Belize City based. And so earlier this year, as you guys would have known, that we did several fundraisers, and we also did a backpack back to school drive. And it was through that drive that we found out that there is a serious need for electronic devices for high schoolers in terms of having them have a workable device at home so that they could get in tune with their classes, which is mostly a hybrid right now that is being used throughout the country. And so through that drive, we found out that while there might be internet connectivity problems on the part of students, some parents can't afford internet, we found that the devices was a major part of that. And so in not so much as just doing an ordinary Christmas drive, which would be toys, this one is a trifecta. So we have tablets, which are the main initiative, we have toys, and then we have sporting equipment, which are going to be distributed to youths who might not be academically inclined, but also they need to have something to do in their communities. So softball, baseball, basketball. And then the toys are going to be for the kids, standard 6 and lower, right? So that is the trifecta, and the drive, this is basically a spin-off of that first drive that we did earlier this year, which was very successful. We gave away 375 school bags, 10 tablets, and 2 laptops.
How do you get the buy-in from the business community, from members of the diaspora, and of course the community at large, because you do also have people who are genuine in their approach to be able to help such an initiative.
Indeed, so it has to do with sheer willpower and strategic partnerships. And so a part of that partnership has to do with the Belize Media Corps. And so once it is that we had launched our media campaign, then the word gets out. But additional to that, there are works that needs to go into this. So you have to send solicitation letters to consulates, embassies, businesses, individuals who may require it for transparency's sake. And then also the buy-in from the diaspora comes in through Mr. Smith and his non-profit, which is True Belizean. I think he can speak more to that. So we are on the ground doing the work that is required, meeting with people, getting out, emailing all these letters, do the follow-up phone calls, and also be on the media so that the community at large will understand what it is these organizations are trying to do to better equip our students and our children, while it is that we have this hybrid system of education going on.
Let's get Farhan involved in the conversation at this point. Farhan, talk to us about True Belizean and the entire initiative on behalf of the diaspora to be able to either give back or to maintain their Belizeanness while they are abroad.
Right. True Belizean. Hi guys. Morning.
Morning.
True Belizean is the nonprofit organization that does the September celebrations over here in Los Angeles, and we also share culture. So the way how we do that is by creating platforms for like Belizean artists and Belizean businesses. And I could tell you, like September, we have about anywhere from 25 to 50 Belizean businesses coming out. That includes like entrepreneurs and already like established businesses, like there's bigger businesses than that. Like all the restaurants, all the nonprofits come out, everybody. So basically, what I do is to create a platform where all the Belizeans are at for the 2 weeks in September, and then give them the biggest audience that any festival has, any Caribbean type of festival has here in Los Angeles, right? So basically that's what True Belizean does, and in return what we usually do is we give scholarships, right? So, but this year we joined forces with Urson. Me and Urson, we joined forces for years now, right? So
high school days.
We joined forces for years. So this time, Urson, he hit me up and he was like, "Man, I have this drive going on," and I was like, "You know what? We could make this a partnership, and I will do this part for you, and then you do this part, and together we could make it stick." And so that's the thing. So what we're doing over here is to have a drive. I'm calling it the Secret Santa Drive. And with the Secret Santa Drive, it's giving people a chance to give back to their old high school. So people in the diaspora could give back to their old high school, give back to a student from their old high school by giving them a present for Christmas that actually could last them 4 years, probably straight into college, you know what I mean? So that's basically my part in this.
Farhan, you spoke of Urson reaching out to you. You also spoke of True Belizean being somewhat of a platform for Belizeans in the diaspora.
Right.
Why did you see it as important to extend your reach of influence in the sense of encouraging Belizeans in the diaspora to not only look at their well-being there, but to also give back to those that are at home?
To me personally, it's because, I was once a student that I depended on people that gave willingly to students that excel and don't really have the finances to back it up. You know, the family doesn't have that, but the student might be a student that excels, and you know, they get help. And when I was living in Belize and coming up in school, several times I was awarded such help, and I never forgot it, man. And so basically, that's what I do. That's why I give back, because I was once a person that, you know, I know what it means to get help like that. I know what it feels like.
So what's the Urson or Mr. Smith? What's the target in terms of how many youths, high school students, are trying to reach?
So the target is 200 tablets and or laptops, and there's a certain specification, because the specification is that it has to be over 2 gigs and the firmware needs to be at least over 6. For those who understand what that means, it means that Google Classroom and Google Meets will be able to run on those devices.
Right.
Why 200, right? So Mr. Smith and True Belizean is responsible for 100, and we here in Belize City are responsible for 100. And what we have done is that we have sent letters of intentions to several secondary schools. We've spoken to the principals and got the buy-in from them. And so we've sent them official letters of intentions. And so those high schools and the administration will be responsible to identify the students. So we are not responsible for that. The teachers and the administration best knows which students are in dire need. And so that's how we get that out of our hands and get the responsibility into the administration's hands. And so there is a partnership there as well. But that 200 target is what we're aspiring for. We started about 3 to 4 weeks ago, and we're still on the ground working with individuals and trying to partner with embassies and different consulates as well. And we're not asking for in our case in Belize City, while we are not asking for financial contributions, we're asking for the tablets to be procured and then sent to us. And then we make the presentations to the schools, who then make the presentations to the students.
Yeah, and in terms of these recipients, where they're from, we're talking primarily Belize City.
Indeed, indeed. Yeah. So Aspire for Greatness is a Belize City-based organization. And I would like to invite other people from the districts to form your own organization to do this in your community, because our initiatives will always be for Belize City. This is where we live. This is where we grew up. These are the people who grew us into the men and women that we are. And so it is only incumbent upon us as individuals who have been given so much. And what Farron said is very real. When we were going to SJC College, there were a lot of people who assisted us when our families couldn't. And so we understand what that means. And it makes it even more easier for an initiative like this to have that authentic and genuine feel. While it is that we're living in tough economic times, this is why we reach out to the diaspora as well, and to businesses who may be rebounding from that economic hardship that came with the onset of the pandemic.
This is important as an initiative because it shows that there are still individuals or collectives out there who look back. A lot of times we make it to where we are through the difficulties and everything and enjoy the charms of having celebrated their arrival, but we don't really look back. In this case, we're looking at children or students who, in some cases, are on the south side of Belize City, who don't have the opportunity of getting a device, who don't have the opportunity of having internet at home. And so it presents a real academic challenge, aside from the fact that they're already not in school, or in class, should I say. It compounds the issue. So now they're being left behind, and you're looking at a high dropout rate because they don't have the tools and the resources necessary for them to be able to meet the challenge and overcome it. Indeed. So I'll take the opportunity at this point to be able to commend you guys, both yourself and Farron, for this kind of an initiative, and would implore that more Belizeans get involved in this kind of activity.
And so for Belizeans to get involved in this particular initiative, on our media material that we have put out on social media and different platforms, our contact numbers are out there. Mine is at 628-5880. And I had sent out several, or should I say, we had sent out several letters to embassies and consulates. And we had gotten a response back from one in particular, and I think they may have misread the information, or maybe it wasn't communicated clearly. While we're talking about contributions, contribution doesn't have to be cash. And like I said, we here in Belize City from Aspire for Greatness are not looking forward to cash donations. If that comes, then hey, that money will be sent to Mr. Smith, because in the US you can get a good device for like $59.99 plus tax or $84.99 plus tax. You know, so those monies can always be transferred to him, and then we get much more for, let's say, like $1,000 Belize, right? We get much more devices than if we would have procured the devices in Belize itself, because there are senior markup on these devices. One good device wind up to run you at least anywhere between $400 to $500 for one device, when in the US you can get that same device for $84.95, right? Given all the tax, well, given tax and different things. So it's cheaper in the US. And so for the embassies that we have reached out to, you know, you can purchase the device online, have it delivered to Belize, and be a part of rebuilding our communities and help shaping our communities one youth at a time. We have reached out to other nonprofits as well to partner, because working in communication has taught me that networking is essential if you want to get something off the ground and have it be successful, or at least to meet your target. And so we are willing to partner with governmental, non-governmental, embassies, consulates, businesses, individuals who might be so inclined to be millionaires or multi-millionaires, you know, and so we're not borrowing anything. And even from the community, if somebody would like to end up to give a small financial donation towards, or even not even a financial donation, toys, we are up for that as well. Sporting equipments, we are up for that. And so we are just reaching out and trying to let the business community know that we understand where you guys stand and you guys are recovering, but at the very same time too, our youth and our community is in dire need, and they are in dire financial strains. Parents can't even access internet for their home. So we have to find safe spaces within our community to offer internet connectivity for our students. While they might have a device, but they don't have the internet, how can we partner together to say this is a safe space, like a church, and it's going to be open from this hour to that hour. We're going to provide the internet. This is something that the foundation is working on in the background as well, so that not only the device, but they have a safe space where they can use their device and they have internet connectivity.
I know that you have dates that are set aside for the distribution of these items sometime in December. Could you speak to that?
Indeed. So the drive is ongoing through December 20th. And so the week of December 20th, we will be liaising with the principals of the schools that we sent the letters of intention to. And we will be selecting days during that week of December 20th when we will be distributing to the schools and to the students. And then further to that, on December 24th, we will be distributing the toys and the sporting equipment for children in underserved communities in Belize City.
Yeah, well, you know, we've prominent at this time is discussion surrounding equipping families for better success in terms of crime prevention and deterring young men from participating in criminal activities. And while that life skills discussion is important, what is as equally important is equipping these young men, young women with the necessary tangible tools to forge ahead successfully, especially in education. And so this is definitely one of those means that we can see where they will be equipped with that tangible tool.
Indeed, indeed. And I think Mr. Smith knows all too well the struggles of students in Belize City, because like he had mentioned, he does scholarships as well, right? And so his scholarship program is something that has helped numerous students over the years. And so this partnership speaks to his authenticity and the realness of him and his organization to partner with us to help kids, our kids, our students in Belize City.
Yeah. Gentlemen, thanks a lot for having joined us. Any final words from yourself, Mr. Smith?
Is that influenced my life greatly, and they passed away. One of them passed away recently. The other one passed away. The other one just got honored. And Isani, I'm sure you know about this, but I've been so proud, man, because I see the Eva Milton roundabout, and Eva Milton was a lady, like she was the only person in our neighborhood that had encyclopedias, and she really used to just let you use it, man.
Black Orchid Street. Black Orchid Street.
Yes, Black Orchid Street. I come right from Marigold Lane, right around the corner from her. And she was like a second mom to me, So I'm so proud. I'm so happy that she was honored. And the Eva Milton roundabout, I think I will have to camp out on that one of these nights when I call her Belize,
Yeah.
And the next person is Mrs. Cuellar. She was definitely a very important lady in my life and in all of our lives, actually. I'm not sure about the young man right here, but at least we three, Yasani and Ersin, So definitely, man, these people right here, the kind of influence they left on my life is the reason why I always turn around and give back. And so when Ersin made his offer to me, I just didn't see how I wouldn't be involved with something like this, And so I'm encouraging all the Belizeans that in the diaspora to reach out to me. If you're an organization and you want to run your own drive in your own state, that's perfect, because I'm in Los Angeles. So if somebody from Miami, Houston, New York, Chicago, wherever you guys are, just hit me up. And you want to be a part of this, you could be a part of it. It's something beautiful to give back to the people. So let's do this.
All right. Thanks once again, guys, and best of luck in this endeavor. We'll wait to hear from you in December to see if you've met your target and what the distribution process will be like. All right, guys, that being said, we take our final commercial break, and when we return, it's to wrap up.
Following the COVID-19 vaccination, some people may experience side effects, such as soreness at the injection site, chills, nausea, body aches, or a fever. But these symptoms go away after a few days. These side effects are a result of your immune system responding to the vaccine and are not a sign that you are sick with COVID-19. The COVID-19 vaccines will not give you COVID. When you receive your vaccine, the health worker will advise you what to take if you are experiencing any of these side effects. Remember, these mild side effects cannot compare to you not being able to share memorable moments with your family and friends if you fall gravely ill from COVID. Vaccines bring us closer.
With eCash, bill payment is extremely convenient, and all utility companies accept eCash payments. What's even better? You get to split bills with your roommates, siblings, or whoever you desire. Simply open your eCash app, go to Bill Pay, tap the respective utility company, enter the information, and pay the bill. Then tap the transaction made. Tap Split the bill. Select Evenly. Send the request to who you are splitting the bill with, and get notified when they pay. Talk about making life easy and avoiding confusion. You can split the bill for restaurants, grocery stores, and for any eCash payment you make. To find your next yummy meal, hair treatment, or chill spot, simply open the app and utilize the geolocation service to see nearby businesses that accept eCash. Geolocation and bill payment make life a whole lot easier.
is always with you, from live TV, sports, and on-demand titles. Choose your plan today. Plans start as low as $15 per month. My TV, entertainment, anytime, anywhere.
Es un hecho. Únicamente con Smart obtienes todo realmente ilimitado. Solo con Smart obtienes datos ilimitados en cualquier momento. Mientras que con el otro proveedor solo son datos dobles los fines de semana. Con datos ilimitados todos los días no hay necesidad de esperar, así que es un hecho que nuestros planes ilimitados superan a la competencia. Por lo tanto, no permita que le digan cómo y cuándo usar sus datos y obtenga llamadas, mensajes de texto y datos ilimitados. Vive la verdadera experiencia de planes ilimitados con Smart. Es un hecho. Haga el cambio y viva Smart.
And we are back, and we're at the end of our show for this morning. We want to say thank you to our viewers, and of course, thanks most importantly to our guests that we had on the show this morning, those who were able to participate via Zoom and those who were able to participate in person, Paul.
Yeah, I think we had some great discussions, starting with a discussion surrounding COVID with Miss Roxana Zib. And then we moved right along very well with a discussion surrounding men, man-to-man talk. And we know that that forum will be taking place this Saturday. This Wednesday, I apologize. And men are, of course, invited out to learn more about the laws surrounding marriage and union. Then we just wrapped up our final conversation.
All right, so that being said, guys, that does it for us today. You can get in touch with us here at Channel 5. The information for you to be able to contact us is right on your screen. And until tomorrow, Paul,
keep your mind, your eyes, and your heart open.
Take care and see you soon, Belize. Open Your Eyes was brought to you by the Belize Bank, our country, your bank.